Okay then, thank you. Well, related good morning to everyone. Many apologies for this. We seem to be having technical problems each and every time we try to an area committee meeting, and we really will have to try and sort it out. So welcome to this meeting of the Dingwall and Seaforth Area Committee. Are there any apologies for absence? I think we can record that Councillor Kenneth is now
left the room.
Let's say he's left the room. Yeah.
No, I'm on. Graham, I'm online now.
Okay, thanks, John.
Right.
Okay. So, any declarations of interest?
No.
Members, it's with deep sadness that I have to record the passing of Julie Wildman, who was suddenly and tragically taken from us last month. Julie was an integral part of the small team that support us in these matters, and she was also pivotal in our local community. We're all deeply shocked by this tragic event and wish to send, I'm sure all of us, our deep condolences to her family and friends. Thank you, members. I'm also delighted to welcome Lewis Hanna, who's our new Community Development Manager, to his first meeting, and to Kirsty Ellen, who's our Community Support Officer. We hope you will enjoy your time with us here in Dingwall and Seaforth. Also good to have along Rory McLeod this morning, who's standing in for the ECO, Mark Rogers. So, swiftly and with deep apologies, Richard, for the delay in getting to you, I can ask you to introduce the area performance summary for Dingwall and Seaforth.
No problem. Chair, my plan would be to read through the whole document and then take questions at the end. Sure. If you're happy with that. So this report relates to the period 1st April 23 to the 31st of December last year as well. So, in terms of the report, I don't intend to read it all, but I'll highlight the main points. So, there's a page of introduction from the Chief Inspector for the area. What you will notice that previously reports have been down to ward area level. They are now at command area level, although by the end of the meeting I can give you context as to the particular area yourself, and I'll come on to where you can get other statistics as well. So in terms of statistics, that's key to what we do, identifying crime trends, ensuring we have our resources in the right place at the right time. We do compare data from previous years, but without doubt our data is still slightly skewed by COVID times, because a lot of our data is within 5 years, so it will take time to come back fully accurate. So talking about COVID, following on from COVID, we are seeing the challenges of now the financial challenges, credit crunch, etc., and that does have an impact on policing, and we work with partners in terms of vulnerable people in the community. I'll come on to talk about road policing, which obviously has been a key part of the work we've been doing over the last year. In terms of violence, unfortunately there's been a slight increase in serious assaults, which I'll talk about, although we are still below the 5-year average. Tragically, within our command area, we've had 2 murders within the reporting period, though neither of which were in this particular ward. I'll go on to talk about frauds and this sort of slight change in trend there. I'll also discuss missing people. And then in terms of our work with serious and organised crime, I'll detail what's going on following that. In terms of local policing priorities, they remain, as on the document, road safety and road crime, antisocial behaviour, violence and disorder, acquisitive crime, protecting vulnerable people, serious organised crime, terrorism and public order. So moving on to the report, you'll see for each of the policing priorities, we have our intention and our objective. I don't intend to read them out, they're at the top of each section, but I'll cover the data and then some of the proactive work. So in terms of road safety and road crime, To summarise, for each of the reported crime types, the number of offences that we have detected is up on every category, both on last year and the 5-year average. So in terms of road safety and road crime detections, that is proactive policing by officers out and about. Very small numbers that gets reported by the public. That is officers out detecting it. In terms of how we go about it, we've got what's called Operation Cedar, which means to challenge, educate, detect and reduce, which is led by our road policing colleagues, but supported by both road policing and local response officers. I think the numbers there alone indicate the amount of work that goes into reducing road crime. In terms of antisocial behaviour, disorder and violence, again, as I've said, unfortunately we had 2 murders in the area, one in Caithness, one in Easter Ross, none in this area. That's really unusual for our command area. In terms of serious assaults, we are up on last year, but down on the 5-year average. In terms of possession of drugs, we are up on last year again, but down on the 5-year. And in terms of common assaults, we are up on last year, down on the 5. In terms of common assaults on emergency service workers, that is down against both measures. That's not just police, that's all emergency service personnel. So that's down on last year and the 5-year average. In terms of our proactive work, we continue to have the harm prevention officer role within division. So that's a police constable who's based in headquarters in Inverness and works with both our internal and external stakeholders, trying to reduce the risk posed to vulnerable members of the public through alcohol and drug misuse. They've got a particular focus on Kukui and County Lines activity, and although based within Inverness, their work is across the whole of the division, or certainly the whole of the mainland. It's a funded post, funded by NHS Highland and the Highlands and Alcohol Drug Partnership. So that continues, and though based in Inverness, does work within this area as well. Moving on to acquisitive crime, in terms of housebreaking, the figures are up against both measures, as is motor vehicle crime. You'll know the shoplifting, there has been a large rise in shoplifting, and that is a trend that we are seeing within this particular area. That is also something that is a national trend with shoplifting at present. In terms of fraud, you know that we're actually down on last year's figures, but up on the 5-year average. One of the things we did see from COVID times, a lot of criminality moved online and frauds increased. We've put a lot of resources and efforts into crime prevention, educational messages, and we're starting to see the benefits of that with the numbers falling again. Frauds, some of them are very complex and very professional, and it's just trying to keep on top of the current trend in relation to that. Further to that, we use the banking protocol within our area as we work with financial institutes to educate their staff to identify crimes in action as such, where people are being made to go to the bank to take out money or transfer. That's had a number of successes within this area in the past year. There's also a section on Rural Watch. I won't go over that too much. It's there, and if you've not signed up to it, I'd encourage you to. Moving on to protecting vulnerable people, you'll know that domestic abuse cases are down against both measures, the last year and the 5-year average. Sexual crimes have gone up against both measures, and hate crime is up slightly against both. In terms of missing people, there's been a significant reduction in the number of missing people reports, of 134 in the reporting period compared to 233 in the previous period. In terms of missing people, we put resources to that, and they can be really time consuming for police officers, so we try to prevent missing people incidents happening. We have officers who are dedicated to work with each care home, trying to reduce the instances of the take place, and so we're maybe starting to see the dividend of that with a large reduction in the last year. In terms of serious and organised crime, we report on 2 categories for this. The first one is the production, manufacture, or cultivation of drugs, and we are up against both last year and the 5-year average. And supply of drugs, again, we are up significantly on last year and the 5-year average. In terms of the detection rate, that's generally due to stuff being in the lab, weighing analysis, and once it's been analysed, it will become detected. So for both of that categories, again, that's proactive policing. That's officers detecting crimes rather than being reported to us. In terms of, there's a section there on the county lines activity. We are susceptible, like all areas, to county lines activity, and we have resources looking at that at a divisional level and are working within this area to tackle that. And we have recently expanded that unit to deal with the threat that the area has. In terms of counter-terrorism, we don't report figures for counter-terrorism. It's about our proactive work, and there's a section there from the counter-terrorism officer for you to read. I don't intend to read over that. In terms of crime statistics, the end of the report has a link that you can go on, and that provides you down to ward level that you can obtain crime statistics for your area. So they are available to you online through the Police Scotland website. That's it, Chair.
Thank you, Richard. Just before I open it to members, can I just take you back to the hate crime?
Yes.
Under vulnerable people. It says that Police Scotland underwent a national inspection by the inspector in relation to hate crime, with North Division being identified as one of the 3 focus divisions.
Yep.
What does that actually mean?
Means they chose 3 divisions to review their processes and procedures around hate crime. Yes. So we've had an inspection to see that how we operate in terms of hate crime. Is it compliant with the requirements, and is it meeting the needs?
And that presumably hasn't reported yet.
So we have had some of the learning from that, and we've come out well. We have low figures of hate crime, and we take a very proactive approach to supporting people who have been victim of hate crime through crime prevention, but also encouraging reports of hate crime to us. So yeah, the full report's not out, but yeah, the indication our processes and procedures are in a good order.
Perfect, just a wee bit of clarity around that. Members, Margaret.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you very much for the report. It's very clear. Just 2 small things: local crimes and road safety.
Yep.
The local crimes, where I get the most phone calls from, is people in McRae Crescent Brown Square.
Yep.
This last while, especially late at night, police driving in and torches and lights, and people don't know what's going on, and they give me a phone call. But we don't get told now when there's any issues in an area. We used to.
Yep.
So I don't know, is that just move on or what? But we used to be always told, especially if it's repetitive, and this is happening quite a bit.
So in terms of officers being in these areas, they are particular areas where we focus our patrols, so they will be in there. The fact that they are in there doesn't indicate something has taken place. It could simply be they are patrolling to prevent something happening, which is obviously one of our main roles, is to patrol to prevent crime. So the fact that they're seeing officers, and yet they may have torches on, but that's because they're looking to see if there's anything taking place. It's not an indication of something actually happened. In terms of where something significant happens, I will, through the ward manager, inform you. There hasn't been anything significant to tell you about in these areas recently, but we do proactively target that areas.
Yeah. Okay, and the other one is, and I don't know if you can give any advice on this, but I've been trying with our officers as well for years, and it's road safety, and it's at the end of Craig Road, and there's more and more traffic and huge lorries going along the shore road, and it's Mineral Bridge, And I don't know if you've got a number of accidents at the bridge, if you keep a report, but the prevention, as you know, is the best thing.
Yeah.
And there has to be something done. The amount of people that have been almost taken out with big lorries coming round, and there's nowhere for a car is coming that way to go.
Yes.
It's, you know, and I've taken it up with the council, but nothing seems to get done. I just wonder if, when the police see that that could be a danger spot, do you put in a report to the council?
So in terms of that area, I'm not aware of that being a hotspot for accidents. And we would report it in terms of.
There has been quite a few accidents there.
I would need to go back and look at the data for that particular location. So in terms of accidents, when we put in an accident report, that is analysed to identify areas, hotspot areas for accidents. And that's done at Scottish Government level. So we feed all our data in. The computer system is accessed by the Scottish Government, and I would check, but I believe it would also be accessible by the Council of Road Safety Officers.
Yeah.
So if we had a particular issue where someone was in immediate risk of causing an accident, we would immediately report it. But longer term infrastructure, that's slightly different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I'll go back and look.
The road was damaged.
Yeah, I will go and have a look at that.
The road was closed a few years ago, and the damage wasn't too bad, but if one of these huge lorries that are going past my house go into the bridge, that could be, you know, really dangerous for trade because it's a railway bridge.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's to do anything about that. That's massive work to change that, and that's not something that, for the police, that would be for the council to look at.
I think there's a resolution to that, it's traffic lights and that.
Yeah, well, I've been saying that for years.
That becomes a council.
Yep.
Yeah.
Council issue to resolve.
Yeah, I just thought maybe we should get heeded, please say something, because I've been saying it for I don't know how many years.
I will go and look at the statistics for what we have there.
You
Yeah.
know, thank you.
Angela?
Yes, we had a good conversation while you were setting up, but I will go over some of the points. I can see how positive the report is, but for me, if I went to my local communities, they would be wanting to know how does this affect them, because it was very much an overview, I felt, and Dingwall and Seaforth, I think, was mentioned twice in the report, although you did highlight in your presentation that communities can find out the information from the back and you know, drill it down to their own area. So the policing priorities, like Margaret, road safety and road crime is an issue, and we've touched on it before at committee more than once. And I think the frustration for people who are involved in accidents or near misses, as Margaret has, and for the communities, especially at the A835 and B9162, and then further up at the next junction, at the Mulbui junction, there's been a number of accidents, especially this time of year when the sun's low, and if the police don't turn up, I know they will turn up to some, but the information that arises because of the accident is not being collated. And you touched on maybe the council should be collating that, but what is the process to do that? Because when we as local councillors complain to Transport Scotland or to the council, there doesn't seem to be a clear process for whether it's the police that reports the information and where that information goes, whether it's Highland Council that reports it, or is it the person themselves? Because it only seems to be if there's a serious accident that is then taken to the next level. So I would be interested to know how it's reported and by whom and what the process is, because we are seeing more and more accidents at the junctions, and even, I mean, you must be aware of them too. And I appreciate the capacity management that's discussed at the start. Police can't be everywhere. The county lines issue about cuckooing, that's happening more and more. And I've been to 2 presentations in Inverness that's taken place with officers in Inverness, and I found them extremely beneficial. And I had asked about when they would be happening in our area. And I appreciate that, you know, you don't have a lot of time, Richard, to go everywhere, but perhaps it would be an opportunity if a few wards came together to get that county lens, because I said at the meetings, it's happening over the Kessel Bridge too, and we're all aware of incidents. And the more people that know what to look out for, especially with the cuckooing, the better, I feel. And it would be good to know how you're working with housing and you know, ensuring that vulnerable people are not being, or social work, or vulnerable people are not being intimidated or their homes be taken over in this way. Because I really do think that the more communities are aware of it, the better. And touching on that, I want to know how you're progressing on having this joint community council meeting with yourself, because we've talked about it for at least 6 months. And it would be good to get that now that more community councils are up and running. Mother is on you talk in the report about missing persons, and you've got a local police liaison contacting the residential units. Maybe a wee bit more update on that, because I wasn't sure if it was the staff that was being contacted or the residents. Both. And how is that being updated? And of the road safety too, at the last committee or the one before, we talked about driving ambition, which was done with the council and police and schools, and that had stopped. Is there any? I think it wasn't being done in Dingwall, as far as I'm aware, Dingwall Academy. Is there anything being done to progress that with your liaison officers? The partnership working and collaborations talked throughout the report. Are these through joint meetings, in particular the antisocial behaviour? Is that with housing and others? And how has that been progressed? If you're finding vulnerable adults, is it the council? Is it yourself? Who's filling out the adult concern forms, and where are they going? And police crime stoppers, because there is, as we all know, drugs happening in all parts of Highland, and I think the more you shine a light on it, the more people will be aware of what's going on. And I mean, I've come across people that say the council know where some of the drug dealers are, but I take it they inform the police. How do you know all the information is being collected? Because people are really worried, not only because of the antisocial behaviour, but because of the other people that are coming to the doors. How's that getting picked up through your partnership working? And the rest we discussed earlier, so that's probably enough for you.
Okay.
Just before you come back, I think I would like to emphasise the point that Angela was making about communities. They really value the attendance of police officers and police report, and now recognise that that's something you can't do. But they feel that the communities, this is all the community councils I go to, they feel that the communities have become more distanced from the places they want. And it was just to say that they've been, particularly one in particular, I've been saying that they would want Rob Shepherd there. I think that's probably unrealistic, but to bring a number of wards together to have a Q&A and an information session, I think would be very well received. Okay, thank you.
Okay. I'll go through it. Hopefully I've still got all these right.
To do policing with consent, you need the communities to be on your side.
Absolutely. So I've tried to take notes as you've gone along. If I've forgotten any of the points, tell me. So I'll start with the community council. So yes, we did previously talk about work that was ongoing in terms of the community council report. That has not been concluded yet. It's work I'm leading on, so I know exactly the position we're in with that. I'm trying to standardise the report that's given to community councils. So there's a standardised template across all community councils within Highlands and Islands. So as you imagine, there's been different styles used in different areas of the division and different demands from different community councils. We are trying to standardise the report. It will be going away from, at the moment it's very statistic based, it will be going away from that. It will be about preventive work we have done and what we're going to be doing, but with a link to where they can get crime stats. Okay. Rather than it just being a statistic document, because in honesty that doesn't mean a lot to people. But we'll talk more about the work we're doing. Each community council will still have an allocated officer as a point of contact, but as you said, it is unlikely they will be attending meetings. Purely down to we have to maximise the resources we have, and having them in meetings when they've probably needs a point of contact with the council, community council come to them with issues. So they will get a standardised report and they will have a point of contact. But that is ongoing. I hope to have that within the next couple of months of that. Now that is, say, taking slightly longer than planned. In terms of the meeting, I'm aware, so I am still trying to get that meeting sorted, but I want to get the template sorted first, the process in place before I meet with the community councils. And my intention would be then the chair and one other, rather than everybody from community councils, because it would become unmanageable at that point.
So in those terms, if we were going back to community council, could we say by summertime?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. In terms of, I might not have these in all the exact order you came out with them. Missing people with the care home. So yes, we have liaison officers. They try to work both with the care home staff and management and the residents, try to see if we can resolve some of the issues that are causing them to go missing. And actually, sometimes it's with the care home staff, are they actually missing people? Because sometimes they're not. So it's just trying to get so that we get a report to us what should be reported to the police and what should be dealt with by care home staff dealt with by them. So that work is ongoing. In terms of driving ambitions, I will need to check the current position with that. My understanding is that no, it's not currently taking place, but I will check and get back to you on that. In terms of county line presentations, I'll take that away and sort presentation. I will probably try and open it up wider than Dingwall and Seaforth.
Yeah, that's fine.
If I can get somebody to come, it won't be me doing the presentation. No. It will be somebody from our county lines team. But I will try and get that sorted. Social behaviour.
I spoke to Judy about that, so she knows.
I can take that on. In terms of you asked, do we work with social work and housing in terms of county lines? Yes, we have links with them, but I'd rather not go into the finer details of that for operational reasons. But we do work with our partners to try and identify vulnerable people. You asked about antisocial behaviour. We have joint meetings called Safer Ross. They're currently being stopped whilst we get information sharing agreement in place. That is being finalised, basically to ensure that information is being shared according to legislation and appropriately. Once that shouldn't take much longer to be back in place, and the meetings will be dealt with. In terms of how we share information with vulnerable people, I think the question was who should be in the vulnerable person form, whichever agency identifies the vulnerability. Okay. There has been in past information passed to the police to be concern. That's not great. Whichever agency identifies a concern should put in. And quite often you'll have that concern identified by multiple agencies. They then go into the concern hub for the police side, and then we go into our concern hub where we assess, research them, and we share with relevant partners. And likewise, the council will do the same. So that is all done through our concern hub in Inverness. You asked about what you refer to as police crime stoppers. I think it's really important to highlight police and crime stoppers are two different things. Crime stoppers is an independent charity. They are not police. They're independent of the police. We do promote Crime Stoppers whenever we can. And you asked how we know we've got all the information. We don't know if we've got that, and I'll guarantee we don't have it. We always need more information. We try to gather it through numerous routes, including partnership working, but unfortunately we can't know we've got it all. And we always look for the public support to provide more information just on criminality. I think I've covered everything. Yes, unless there's anything I've missed.
No, I think we had a good chat earlier.
Okay then. Any other further questions?
Yeah, I'm positive. I think the Rural Watch is quite good, and you get updated.
You might want to ask if John's got any questions.
All right, so I'll ask
Yeah,
you. So Rural Watch is very good,
Yeah.
and once you sign on, you get updates
Yeah,
all the
update
time.
them,
You know, so that's really handy, and you can make it more to your own area.
Yeah.
And the banking protocol, that's good too. And there is good things in the report.
Yeah.
It's just that I felt that it kind of gave an overview of everything being good, and with the financial constraints, it's not.
As I think statistic-wise, it shows where we've gone, where figures have gone up or down. It's you know, the statistics are what they are, but we then also do highlight the proactive work or the preventative work we are doing. The report being at commandery level, as it has, that is down to us making the best use of the resources we have at the current time, and there is a way of getting more detailed statistics.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not seeing any hands. Sean, is there anything you want to say on this topic?
No, I don't think so, Graham. Thanks for the report, Richard. I think it just shows, you know, that the cutbacks are very relevant in the policing area, and that's about the only comment I'd have to make on it. Thank you.
Okay, Sean, just shout out if you've got anything you want at any time. So thanks very much, Richard. Sorry to take up more of your time needed to nice to see you again.
Thanks very much.
And then members to agenda item 4, which is the Area Roads Capital Programme. Ian, are you with us?
Yes, good morning, councillors.
Morning.
We have here the draft capital programme for 24-25, and after I go through it, I'll be asking members to approve the programme. So, starting off with finance, unlike the last few years, only the baseline capital budget will be allocated. So we're going to see quite a significant reduction in the capital available. That budget's not yet allocated, so I've got to use the previous year's baseline capital as an estimate, and I used that to allow the programme to be developed. But clearly, if there's slightly more or slightly less money, that may alter what schemes are above the line and what schemes are below the red line. The budget's split up across the whole of Ross and Cromarty. As you'll know, it's a Ross and Cromarty capital budget, and it's not disaggregated into the individual areas. Based on the road length, Dingwall and Seaforth have a budget of £155,000.
Last year.
Our programme, basically, typically we only have 3 types of operations. Surface dressing, where we spray a bitumen oil emulsion onto the road surface, spread the chips, and then compact it in. Surface dressing, it extends what life the road has already. And typically I would use that on our main roads, our primary routes. Overlay and inlay are very similar. Overlay is where we would put new surfacing onto the road, typically 40 to maybe 50 mil thick, dense bound macadam, tarmac, and that adds structural strength to the road surface. And inlay is a very similar version of overlay, except that we would plane out the existing surface before replacing it. Typically, inlay is used in urban areas where we're restricted by the heights of curbs, air bricks, and other ironwork. overlay is more suited to rural areas where there's less height constraints. Typically, surface dressing, depending on how much patching is required, runs between £4 to maybe £12 per square metre. Overlay is round about the £25 per square metre, with inlay starting at 35. So clearly, the more surface dressing I can undertake, the bigger the impact I'll have on the road network. In terms of sort of like selecting schemes, I look at the strategic roads because you've got more vehicle kilometres are improved per pound spent, especially if we're surface dressing. But you've also got to bear in mind that local communities on unclassified roads, they need benefits because quite often those roads are in the worst conditions. So it's trying to find a balance between the financial benefits and the benefits to local residents. In my programme, the schemes above the red line can be fully funded, and the schemes below the red line would require additional capital if that becomes available. I won't go through the entire programme, but the main scheme we've got here is the A862, Conan Bridge to Muir of Ord, 3.5 kilometres of surface dressing. It's more appropriate to be surface dressing larger lengths, and I've seen myself do up to about 10 kilometres in one stretch. It's not really efficient to be surface dressing a few hundred metres. However, the Gairloch Crescent and Conan Bridge is in a particularly bad way, and we'll probably have to do a lot of patching, and we may do some surface dressing there as well. The schemes below the red line, clearly there's 3 schemes there, but clearly there's many more schemes that we could select if we had more money. Riverbank Road, Muir of Ord, Baxter's Junction, and the Dingwall to Strath Road. I would be more than happy to come back to meet the councillors at a ward business meeting to discuss the priority below the red line if we get more budget just to use. So I'd be happy to take any questions and answers, councillors.
Okay, Ian, I have to confess to being totally confused by this.
Yeah, report didn't make sense.
I remember months ago, when I mean months ago, we've had this discussion already. We approved it then. We were told at that time that we had £73,000 for capital works in Dingwall and Seaforth. I mean, I really mean months ago. Since when nothing seems to have happened, you're now coming and telling us that, from my reading of this, that we've now got £155,000 for 24-25, and the 2 proposals are exactly the same ones as we agreed before.
Yes.
So, can you enlighten me?
You've mixed the revenue and capital together.
Yeah, councillor, that wouldn't be getting mixed up with the ward business meeting where I took these 2 proposals to the councillors for discussion. This is
the meeting itself, the title of the meeting.
Yeah, this is now coming to committee for approval, or for I say maybe formal approval, whereas at the ward business meeting these schemes were previously discussed.
So where am I getting the £73,000 in my head?
No, you definitely said it. That's the capital.
And just touching on that, if this is what's to be done 24-25, can you just recount for us what was done in 23-24?
Because we're agreeing the 23-24 budget.
Yeah, okay, councillors. Can I maybe come back to you with a full list of the schemes in Dingwall and Seaforth that were undertaken this year. And I'll also go back and check the figure that the capital budget is, in fact, £155,000.
Yeah, I mean, there was supposed to be a workshop on the allocation of road funding, which had to be abandoned because of poor weather, and I believe there's another one coming up. So I'm certainly hopeful from the Dingwall and Seaforth point of view that our allocation will be much increased, because as I see it at the moment, our roads will continue to deteriorate, whereas wards around about us, their roads will continue to improve when they have notionally far less traffic than we have and a much smaller population. So I'm looking to be able to try and influence, if you like, all of us are going to try and influence the allocation of money to Dingwall and Seaforth, but I really am confused about where we've been last year and why only these two projects are coming up. When we discussed them with you before, they were going to be allocated under the £73,000 funding. Now there seems to be £155,000, and yet it's the same two schemes. So I'm totally confused here. Margaret?
Okay. Yeah.
No, I'm just,
I've got a few questions too, Ian. And I mean, I had read the report about 5 times. I read it again this morning because I found it quite confusing. I wasn't sure if we were agreeing this present financial year we're in, 23-24's budget for the 155, or are we? And I appreciate that we haven't set the council budget yet, so you don't know what your capital spend will be. But the intimation you did give us was that it was going to be about £73,000 capital works. Reading the report, I wasn't sure if you were putting a figure for the capital and revenue together, because through the report you're saying some of the jobs need revenue and some need capital. You also mentioned that there isn't a specific budget for each of the wards. It's for the whole of the Ross and Cromarty area because it's not disaggregated. And then you don't give us a figure to agree for the 24-25, and that could be because the council doesn't agree its budget until the end of February. So, you know, so maybe it's my misunderstanding, but I found it very confusing to read. And the two, and I appreciate the ward business meeting's different from the area committee, and the two, the appendix 1 was very general, gave it an overview for the whole of the area, and the appendix 2, the 2 roads that you talk about, I'm sure Gairloch Crescent has been, the potholes have all been filled in, although maybe the overlay hasn't been done as yet, because potholes were filled in Gairloch Crescent when I checked yesterday.
The last 2 weeks.
well, that's the view.
So, but the overlay maybe hasn't been done. So that, my confusion over that, you say there's 8% of the road length, so you're anticipated that another £155,000 allocation, and is that all capital, the allocation? Because it's, and you talk about the baseline capital budget, but I didn't see a figure for the baseline capital budget, and is that because you don't know yet for the 24-25 year? And the resources, you know, when it goes to the risks, you say Highland Council, you have to work within your budget, which is understandable. But you said legally the structural resurfacing and structural integrity for the local committee area, that, you know, we're getting roads failing all over, and they have been for some time, and this bad weather has made it even worse. The risk investment falls short of budget requirements. So I suppose my questions are about how are we going to manage within Dingwall and Seaforth ward, because we are, as local members, saying while we may have 8% of the road, it is the busiest part of the road as we understand it, and there is very little for our rural areas, our new roads either to do this. What about the cyclists, you know, as well? You know, there's been accidents with potholes, more and more people are putting in claims the claims are going against your service, the service budget, rather than insurance. So where's that been factored into your revenue budget? Ditching and birches, they have to be done, otherwise it affects the integrity of the roads. Where's that been factored in, or will that come in a later report? And it's, at 5.3, it's not a disaggregated budget, so how is we going to get a larger chunk of that budget in order to get our roads up to some kind of standard? I mean, we've got people waiting since like Stony Brae, residents have been in touch with all of us, I think, at some stage or other, and it's on the list, but the list is getting longer and longer, and being on a list does not make the road get repaired, doesn't help that. But where does the street signs and bollards and all that come out? Come out of the revenue budget? Because there's been no replacement of any for such a long time that we're all focusing on repairing the small 2 bits of road that's mentioned. I just don't see how this is enough, or how you can, and your team can keep doing what you need to do with such a small amount of funding that we think we're getting. I don't know, because I'm...
Yeah, I mean, just to add on to that before I bring Margaret in, I mean, other areas seem to be benefiting hugely, I wouldn't be, and from road repairs, and well, we don't. So Margaret?
Yeah, no, I was going to say the exact things, and 5.3, it's a bit of a blur. It's not clear. And as far as the potholes, we have got the most people. You just have to look on Facebook for them to say about pothole Dingwall. It is horrendous. I lost a tyre myself, but I couldn't be bothered clinging for it because people are made to feel that they're lying, and it's so distressing. Well, this is what they're telling me anyway. They apply and they've got so many hoops to go through that they give up, and they think that the hoops are there so that they will give up. And it's all the little streets as well, in the housing, and it's not all responsibility of the housing department, and they're just not getting finished properly. Yeah, there's so many. Everyone thinks their streets are worse, but they're all very, very bad.
Okay, Ian, over to you.
Thank you. Okay. I believe I've addressed your issues, Councillor Mackenzie, of the £73,000 previously told. I'll recheck my figures, but I'm pretty certain that the budget for next year is £155,000. I'll also go back through the ward business meeting notes and check that the list of works that we discussed, I believe in November, reflects my committee paper, and I'll provide a list of works done in this ward for 23-24 under capital works.
Thank you.
Councillor McLean, this paper is for 24-25, but as I don't have a budget yet, I can only base it on what I hope to get, which is the 23-24 baseline budget. I believe in Appendix 1 it does actually give you the baseline budget, but I'll fish that out and I'll forward that separately. All these.
Just to say that the paragraph that refers to that starts off by saying the Ross Exorbitant budget has not been disaggregated, and yet by the end of the paragraph we're given an amount. Is that the disaggregated amount? I mean,
yeah, just okay. Apologies for any confusion, councillors. There is no Dingwall and Seaforth capital budget there's no capital budget for any of the other areas. There's only a Ross and Cromarty budget. And I've used the same method of dividing that up as I did when I first came down here and it was a Ross and Cromarty committee and a Ross and Cromarty budget. I based it on the road length. I believe that there's already been discussions between some of the councillors and Tracy about disaggregating the budget to area level. So I'll leave that one just now. Appendix 1, that shows how the funding is split up between all the different areas and what Ross and Cromarty is getting in terms of all the different, if you like, different parts of the budget. But I'll forward you the separately the line for the baseline capital. The 155k is all capital money. But as I said, I will recheck my figures. Yes, I accept that our roads are failing all over. It doesn't matter whether it's a road, a bridge, a factory, or a house. If you build it, you've got to maintain it. Yeah. And to maintain it, we need two things. We need labour and we need money. And we've seen in the last 2-3 years, and I know I've mentioned this before to councillors and to the senior management team, that heaping more capital onto us at short notice in an unplanned fashion isn't the way to go, because all that means is that for the last 2 to 3 years, my DLO squads have been working on capital schemes pretty much from April right the way through to September. And that's had an impact on revenue works, such as ditching, signs, and pothole fixing. So we have to make a decision as to what we want to do, spend the capital or work on the cyclical works, the revenue works. There's no guarantee capital money is going to be rolled over to the following year. So that heavily influenced my decision to get the capital money spent. In addition, there was extra money given to us at the end of 22-23, which again was given to us at short notice. And all that does is yes, we can spend it, yes, we can make improvements, but it comes at a cost, and that cost is onto the revenue works. This year, we seem to be going back to where we used to be, with maybe a more balanced split between capital and revenue. In terms of the claims from potholes, that comes out of a revenue budget. We have about maybe a week to 2 weeks lag from having received a claim to getting that claim out and paid. Most of the claims that we're receiving now are paid out. When we get a claim in, if the person gives us the information they've been asked to provide, that claim can be processed very quickly. Where information is vague, and I'm particularly talking about a map or a specific location, then it takes far longer, and quite often we have to go back asking for more information until we can get the location where that pothole is. Ditching and verges, road markings, signs and bollards, they all come out of our revenue budget. And as I've said, the last 2-3 years, our revenue budget has been under, or our revenue works has been under pressure because of the amount of capital money we've had to spend. Yes, I will accept that other areas always seem to get more money than perhaps the area we're looking at. I do know that Ward 5 got a strategic budget that was allocated to Wester Ross, Strathbethor, Lochaush on the A890. I believe that went to the Strategic HQ Committee. But all the money that I've received is split up on the same way I've used since I joined Ross and Cromarty. And Councillor Patterson, yes, there's many potholes in Dingwall. The one piece of good news that I can give you is that the rapid pothole repair team has been resurrected, and we are using a contractor, Thermal Road Repairs, to come in and do a trial to see how efficient their kit is. They use an infrared heater, so they can work in all weathers apart from heavy rain. And we've given them a list of some potholes in the Dingwall area. If they're successful, I would be keen to have them back. So
I got an email this morning, Ian, having requested member input into the scheduling of that work, promising that we will be consulted. What you've just said seems to indicate that those decisions have already been taken.
Councillor Mackenzie, I was asked to provide a list of roads to HQ. Okay. I don't believe I was asked to consult with members on that. I can find out and get back to you.
I think we would all be keen to see where the schedule, what's going to take place. As I understand it, it's a 3-week trial covering a number of locations. I think we probably all want to know when it's coming to Dingwall, how long it's going to be here, and what it's going to do, because that's the questions we'll be getting asked about it. We're already getting told by all those members of the public who know loads about this topic, i.e. none of them, that it's going to fail. So we need some ammunition to have to counter some of these statements.
Okay, Councillor Mackenzie, I can forward that through.
Sean, were you going to come in there?
Yeah, there was certainly an email came through this morning to from what came from Can Gowans when we spoke to him last week, Graham, when it was announced, yeah, and it came from Ingrid Jameson this morning saying that we would be consulted, because I, like you, did sort of try to put a good news story up about this pothole machine, which probably a little bit like you, some of it was good positive feedback, a lot of it wasn't, but I'd certainly the ones that again identified to all of us as ward main members, I would like to see this machine have a go at them, that comes from us and the members of the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry.
That date for it,
It's to be, sorry, Councillor Patterson is asking if you've got a date for it. As I understand it, the only date we've been given so far is that it'll be completed by the end of the financial year, which is, what, 5 weeks away? So it would need to be soon, if it's a 3-week trial.
Yeah. That's certainly my understanding, Councillor. It was to be completed by the end of the financial year. I don't seem to have Councillor Gowan's email. I'm not sure if he forwarded it.
Nor do I.
I
Or
don't think,
Ingrid's.
I think maybe Councillor Kennedy's all that. It wasn't an email as such, it was a press release from Corporate Communications. at which point we had to be in Kingair's company and asked if we could be involved in.
Yeah.
And I think the email this morning came from Tracy Early, not England, saying that yes, we would be. So is there any way you can share with us, Ian, the proposals for repairs that you have made?
No, don't have that either.
Yeah, I mean, this is a new process for us. I can't give you the exact list of streets off the top of my head, but we looked at streets around the industrial estate. The roads are generally quieter because the contractor at present is an unknown quantity, but you've got heavier traffic on those roads, HGVs, especially at the junctions and turning. If it's successful there, then I would be keen to have them back, whether I'm paying them out of capital or revenue. But until we know what they're like, they are very much an unknown quantity. But I can certainly forward that sort of list.
That would be helpful.
Yes.
I will-
I was going to, just when I've got Ian there, because I have left a few messages, but I know he's busy, and I'm back to my mineral bridge because that worries me.
Okay, can we just tie this one off first and then I'll
Yes,
come back
yeah,
to you?
all right.
Andrew?
I wasn't clear. Ian, you said that this was a resurrection of the rapid response unit because we had been told that this money, I understood this was money that was held in HQ for these 3 rapid response units. So that wouldn't be coming out of our local area capital budget for this work, would it? Is this coming from centrally held funding?
I think
That's my understanding. That's my understanding, Councillor McLean. Yeah.
Just checking,
I think we're maybe there's
mixing two things.
two or three things getting mixed into the pot here. There's the purchase of the pothole pros, you mentioned 3.
Yeah.
I believe that 3 of those were purchased and people are inquiring as what use they've been put to, which I thought was distinct from the instant response team that we agreed at budget or a budget time about a year ago, which never materialised. And then we've got this money on top of that. So I think there's 3 strands to all of that. I having read the press release and having talked to the chair, I was unaware that the thermal repair team was the same as the instant repair team. And I hadn't related those 2 at all, nor was that mentioned to me. I think, Ian, probably the best thing to do is for us to have an early meeting once you've been able to establish your figures and facts. But I do understand in the meantime you might wish us to approve the repairs in the Conan Bridge to Muir Boardroom and give them crescent so that you can go on with them. So
Yes.
can we approve those numbers? That's then approved, but any other expend is subject to us meeting again. I say that because our next area committee will not be for some time, so you don't want to wait for formal approval that time. So is that agreeable to you?
That's fine, thank you, councillors. Yeah. I should say, Councillor Mackenzie, you mentioned the Pothole Pro. Each Monday, we have a specialist plant meeting. The Pothole Pro is passed between 3 roads officers, along with other specialist kit. And each week, whoever has that machine has to say whether they can crew it or not, because there's other pressures and there's sickness and holidays to consider. And if that machine can't be crewed, it's then passed to one of my other roads officers. So I honestly can't remember the last time the Pothole Pro was sitting idle. It's It's used for potholes, it's used for ditching and cutting back hedges. It's a,
No.
yeah, and we can, with a bit of luck, be able to give you maybe give you a location of where it's been used. I say that a bit hesitantly because it's got a tracker in it. I've not used the software myself, but I'm hoping that we can get a location, a list of locations out for you.
Oh, I would very much like that. Yeah.
I thought you were going to say it was sitting with no driving it in our ward.
I'm unaware of it, but I'm unaware of seeing it or hearing of it being used in our area, but maybe that's just me.
I've never heard of it being used.
Okay, if that's agreeable to you, we can set up hopefully an early meeting and come back to us. And you have the approval of the members for the two schemes above the line.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. Thank you, councillors.
Okay.
Are you are the councillors still interested in a site visit? I believe we discussed it for the end of March.
Yeah, we are. And if that could be organised, that we could just go around and have a look at all the roads.
I'm aware,
Yeah.
but go and have it because I, you know.
Yeah, we would be interested. Before you go, Councillor Patterson wants to mention the Mineral Bridge.
We can go and look at the end of Craig Road to the Mineral Bridge. Because I've been on this for years, and it just happened to be that my son almost had an accident there. The huge lorries that go along the road, and there's no room for two vehicles. But you don't know there's a big vehicle coming from Dingwall, from Craig Road, and until you're round the corner, and there's nowhere to go. But there is a big bit of land towards the shore that could be cleared back so that at least if you came across this big vehicle, you could go off the road a bit. And there has been accidents here. There's been quite a few accidents.
But there's water line there too when there's the rain.
Yes, there's been an awful lot of water. Well, the whole road has been bad with water.
I think Councillor Patterson's suggestion is a good one. If we have a site visit, that could form part of it, what we're looking at.
And can I add one more, and fast about it already, is the Conan, the bridge over the River Conan, because there was work supposed to be done on that to kind of raise it because it kind of dropped on both sides. There was a metal plate put in as a temporary measure.
Mm-hmm.
But like my husband's 30-year-old portable classroom and made it a school. So how long is temporary?
I'll we no longer deal with the bridge works, Councillor McLean, but I'll ask our structures team for an update.
Thank you.
Okay.
Graham, just very quickly, just very quickly, my apologies. That email this morning was from Tracy Herry, so I think you should have got that as well, just for your information. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kennedy.
Okay, Ian, we'll hear from you hopefully in the near future. We'll set up another meeting. Okay?
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Agenda item 5, Community Regeneration Fund, assessment of allocations. I believe we've got Fiona and Marianne with us, have we?
Good morning. Hello.
Hi. Fiona? Marianne?
Yeah, Marianne's here too.
is
Good
there
morning.
as well. I wonder if you would indulge us, Fiona, just very briefly give us an overview of what the Community Regeneration Fund is. I know it's in the paper, but it would be good to hear from you where the funding comes from, Is it on an annual basis? How long does it project to continue for? That sort of idea before we actually turn to the application.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So firstly, yeah, good morning, members, and thank you for your time today to discuss the community regeneration funding applications that have been submitted for consideration in your area. So, yep, as you've requested, just was planning to give you a bit of a background anyway to community regeneration funding. So that's an umbrella term that we use to cover a number of funding streams that are able to be accessed within Highland. So that includes the Highland Coastal Communities Fund and the Place-Based Investment Programme. Those are Scottish Government funding streams. It also includes elements of the UK Government Shared Prosperity Fund. So in terms of allocations, area committees are awarded devolved allocations according to approved formula, and then the decision making on which projects should receive funding sits with elected members. So this is the 23-24 allocations that we're looking at today. Is that sort of enough background? I was going to sort of run through what the funding that you have.
Can I just ask for one clarity? You say this is 23-24, so come 1st of April there'll be another allocation, is that right?
So we haven't, as far as I'm aware, we haven't yet had confirmed allocations for next year yet.
Okay, the next question is, some months ago we applied to have a project manager for the ward, and I believe that went for consideration to the Community Regeneration Fund. So is that a different place? Who makes those decisions?
Okay,
we were rejected. I'm not sure we ever found out why we were rejected.
Okay, that's not something I'm aware of, but if it's to the Community Regeneration Fund, that would have been to ourselves. So I'm happy to take that away as an action and find out about that and get back to you, if that's okay.
Sure, can you just give me a minute? Can you let me know about that application?
There's one that Fiona Richardson.
Yeah, if you just give me 1 second, Chairman, I'll just pull that up. Sorry, because it's not in front of me right now. Apologies, just finding it. I'm running the glasses. Right, sorry, Chair. Yeah, got it here. So the response from the application was, unfortunately, your project has not been approved funding for the following reasons. This funding round has been heavily oversubscribed, with the level of funding requested significantly exceeding the funds available, meaning that the LAG members have had to prioritise projects. Over £1.4 million of funding was requested, while the current budget was £1 million. There are concerns around the level of outputs in relation to the scale of grant requests. Work aimed at the anniversary year doesn't fit with the timescales of this fund. Sorry, I wasn't close enough. So
did you hear that, Fiona?
Yeah. So that refers to the community-led local development fund, which is part of the Community Regeneration Fund. And as you've said there, all the funds is competitive, and we were oversubscribed for that. I would probably suggest that if you wanted to discuss that specific application in more detail, that would be done sort of out with this meeting and on a more of a one-to-one basis, if that's okay.
I get that. That's fine, but here's a hypothetical question for you. If we decided to resubmit that application to the Community Regeneration Fund, would we then be in a position to approve it as board members?
Sorry, can you just say that again?
If we were to resubmit that application for a project manager over a length of time, given that we've got £193,000 sitting there, would that be deemed to be an appropriate proposal, and could we grant it ourselves?
So it would depend on what the costs were. I would expect that's probably revenue funds. and the funds that you have available, you have more on the capital funds than on the revenue, so that would need to be looked at. I suggest that probably it may be worth sort of discussing the applications that we're looking at for today, and then sort of after this meeting it might be more appropriate to look at that project manager role and what might be an appropriate fund to submit that to, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. We felt we needed to get some sort of clarity around this.
Okay.
We've got a very important event coming up in a couple of years. The Dingwall 800 years as a borough comes up in 2026, and we're very keen to progress something along those lines. So that's why it's important to us.
Okay.
So, I take your point. We'll take that up later. And now if we can turn to the 3 applications that have.
Yes, that's fine. So I'll take that away as an action for someone to pick that up with you again offline.
Okay, John, lead us through these then.
Yeah. Okay. There's just a little bit of background I just want to run through first as well to set the scene. So Dingwall and Seaforth has the 3 applications for consideration today, which total 21,130. You have available funding of £193,441.62, but due to the nature of the funds, as I said, that there's a mix of capital and revenue. So if members were to approve all projects today, that would leave a remaining balance of £172,311.62, which comprises the majority of that is capital, so £166,915.10, and then there's a £696.52 which could be used for capital or revenue. So the report that you've received asks members to consider the applications presented and agree whether to approve, defer or reject those applications. So an approval of funding should detail the amount approved and any conditions of funding over and above the required technical conditions. A deferral would allow an applicant to resubmit an application at a future date with updated information. And a rejection would mean that the application would not proceed and any future application should be brought forward initially as a new expression of interest. Members are also asked to agree to ring fence any remaining balance within this 23-24 allocation to deliver area priorities that are identified through work to develop an area-based plan, subject to a full application then being brought forward to future committee meetings for consideration. So that serves to really demonstrate that the funds are committed whilst allowing you a degree of flexibility as to what those funds could be used for.
Any word I used.
So ahead of today's meeting, members would have received the application forms and a red, amber, green summary spreadsheet, which highlights the outcomes of the technical assessments that have been undertaken by the CRF team. I would just like to note that the RAG assessment is undertaken solely on information that's been provided to us by the applicant during that process. And where a project has been awarded any red or amber against criteria, it doesn't mean that it's not eligible or anything like that. It just flags up where there may be some outstanding concerns or queries, or if there was limited information provided. But if you did wish to approve projects that have red or amber ratings, we'd usually seek to address those concerns by applying some technical conditions. So Chair, unless you have any further questions at this point, I'll now just summarise those 3 applications.
Yeah.
Okay. So first we have, thank you, CRF 2171 Dingwall Men's Shed. The project cost is 93,000 and it's a funding request of 5,500 revenue. So this project is to encourage members of the community, particularly those who have become socially isolated or disconnected from society, to come along and develop contacts and networks and hopefully develop a sense of self-worth and practical achievement. Chair, I'll hand back to you to discuss that project with members.
And equally, I'll hand it over to members.
Well, I've been down quite a few times to the men's shed, and it is amazing what they do. Just for all the people that come there and, you know, talk as well as work. And I've seen a couple of things that they've done actually. They've done, you know, so maybe I should declare an interest because they discovered a seat that was Sir Hector MacDonald's monument, which was in appreciation of my late husband. But they managed to get it down and they refurbished it. So they do a lot. Angela and I are going down in a week to look round, and actually, you know, I'm 100% behind them. They've tidied up the area because I remember our ex-councillor, Alistair, you know, he thought it was messy, but they got it all tidied up, and it really is excellent.
Okay, just conscious it takes away quite a large chunk of our revenue sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Fiona. And reading through the application, I felt I'd read it before. I think some of what they've got written in this application I had previously, but it doesn't mean that what they're providing for the local community isn't very worthwhile. So it says they've got 36 substantive members, is that right? And they're looking to increase that. Would you know what the age profile is? Is it mostly retired men and women that go along, or? Because they do talk about inviting young people along, and I wondered how that was progressing. Would that be one of the outcomes that's required? Because I didn't see that. Although there's a lot stated, I wasn't sure. Would that be picked up through the outcomes? Given we've got another application from a youth group and it's about art and other things, perhaps there could be a crossover at some point. And so, I mean, I think what they deliver, what they do, as Margaret said, is really encouraging, and we're seeing more and more men sheds that are progressing. We have given them quite a lot of money, I feel, over the last couple of years, and not just here in other places, but they're the only applications that appear to be coming forward. So I don't have an objection to the application, because I think they will, as Margaret says, do a lot of good stuff. But how is that going to be demonstrated? And what's different from this, from any other revenue application, perhaps, that we would have received?
Well, I think we have to take each one on its merit, I suppose. There are women there, but not many. And all the men that I met were retired ages, and for their own mentality, it's been absolutely fantastic.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, it's a fairly major scheme at 93,000. They're asking us for 5.5, so we approve that.
Because we've already agreed some of the funding.
Yeah, I think we should.
Yes, agreed.
John, are you comfortable with that?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that one's approved, Fiona.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next application we have is CRF 2200, Dingwall Youth Club. Project cost is 9,656, and there's a grant request of 8,830, which is a mix of capital and revenue. So it's 5,210 revenue, 3,620 capital. So the project will enable Youth Club to open over 2 evenings per week, as opposed to just one, therefore widening opportunities for vulnerable young people to access a safe space to meet with qualified youth workers, get advice and support, and socialise with their friends. And the funds specifically are to be used to support extra youth leaders and new equipment for the centre. Thank you, Chair. I'll hand back to you.
Okay, I think this one will be relatively straightforward.
Yes, absolutely. I should declare an interest because my grandchildren go there, and it's absolutely fantastic.
Any other comments, members, Angela?
Yes, the Highland Council, do they not provide funding for youth work for Highland? Was one of mine. Do they not get the sessional youth work direct in their grant? I'm not against the application at all. I've been in, as Margaret has, and they are doing great work. But I thought from reading the application, we were paying for all of the room hire, including the one that's taking place now. I wasn't sure about that.
So I'm not aware on the details. I can sort of, Marianne, are you able to bring that up? So I'd say that, so obviously
I'm not
develop-
against the application, but it's like the last one. I feel maybe some of
There's very little, as you said yourself,
for young people
youngsters
to
in
do.
the town. They've got the football academy, or they've got this youth club, and they're actually learning to cook. Because
Similarly, I'm all for promoting the youth work in the town, but just to point out that by the time we've done all this, any future projects that come to us will need to be capital.
Yes.
Because we won't have any more money, or very little money to use on revenue. And I'm not sure where they're going to come from.
Yeah, because, and I agree with that, because I thought perhaps they could be looking at, Highland Carers. They mentioned them from the previous year getting some funding. As a ward, we were given £80,000, but then that seemed to disappear. I don't know what happened with that. The whole family wellbeing fund, I just feel maybe there's other areas that organisations could be looking at as well.
Do you want to defer us?
No, I think they want to start right away, but I'm just concerned that, as you say, there won't be other opportunities. Yeah.
Sean, any comment?
No, I think I'm quite happy with it. Just when it's Highland Highland that's applying for it, there's a bit of concern. But no, anything for the kids and the young people, I'm for that, really. Thank you.
Okay, that one's approved then, Fiona.
Okay, thank you. And the final one is CRF 2305 Dingwall and District Angling Club, and they're seeking 100% funding of 6,800 capital, and the project involves the replacement of steps leading down to the River Conan from the north side of the road bridge on the A835, plus associated works of providing 2 seats and access to both.
Members?
Well, it's very worthwhile. I think we spoke about this already, but it was quite a bit. Yeah. Was there somebody else going to put money into it?
No, just us.
Just us.
Is it normal to give 100% funding, Fiona?
That was the one thing that worried us.
It's whilst we do encourage applicants where possible to try and seek match funding, it's also something that it's eligible for them to apply for 100% funding. It's okay. Yeah.
I should probably be able to answer this myself, but do you know if they have applied for any match funding?
Not according to the application.
I don't see it in the application.
No, we didn't.
Marianne, you feel free to jump in if you want here. Well, it's just we're not as close to these applications as Alison was, who unfortunately wasn't able to be here today. So.
Yes, that's what I was going to say, members. Just to say, we obviously haven't assessed these applications ourselves, so it's our colleague Alison Tanner that you will know, who's probably a bit closer to the projects than we are. But from the information that we've got on file at the moment, I can't see evidence that they would have sought funding from another funder. But that's not to say it's not the case. I think we would need to come back to you about that.
Yeah, was this not the one that we kind of said that it might be advisable to come here for some money that they had originally requested the ward discretionary fund?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we
well,
they do.
I think they've done what we asked them to do, and I don't think there's any problem. Well, I don't have any problem for granting this. You know, if it's going to tidy up the riverbed for people, I'd be all for it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, Fiona, that seems to be 4 yeses from us.
Yeah.
Take on my Simon Cowell role.
Okay, thank you. So with those confirmed, that would leave a balance of 172,311.62. So Chair, I'd ask you to, if that's okay, to then look at the second recommendation.
Yeah.
I'm okay. Can I ask? I'm okay with the second recommendation. It's the third one, and I had written down the word flexibility before you mentioned it, Fiona. Because it might take us a while to get the area-based plan up and running and find out what our communities want, and in the meantime there might be applications that come in. So I wouldn't want to restrict us to just focusing directly on the area-based plan. So as long as we've got the flexibility, I'm happy with point 3.
Okay, yeah. I've noted that. It's fine.
Thank you.
Okay. That's us then.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks Fiona, thanks for your time. Sorry we kept you IT difficulties at this end.
Okay, no problem.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Just before you go, the remaining funding, it just carries over, does it? It doesn't end at September.
Sorry, there's just some background noise there.
The remaining funding, I know we've just allocated it towards, there's no time scale to that, there's no timeline for this money running out or anything.
So as far as I'm aware, that would be for spend by March 25. Marianne, you correct me if I'm wrong on any of this. And really what we're doing by agreeing to ring fence that, I say it's really just to try and sort of prevent that, because it is at risk from kind of being clawback for the Scottish Government. So it's really to prevent that from happening. And I think there's, ideally you would want to carry that over, but there's never kind of guarantees that that can happen.
No, I get that. Just I'm aware of an application that may be coming from the Conan Football Club. That we would have the flexibility to have a look at that. Okay then, thanks again.
Okay.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
That's what the concern is, that if you don't spend the money within a time, you could lose it.
Okay, agenda item 6, members, the Dingwall and Seaforth Ward discretionary applications approved. Can we note that?
Great.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Can I agree then? That was in a different paper. I found this quickly.
Dingwall and Seaforth, agenda item 7, Dingwall Common Good Fund. Are you there, Ellen?
I'm indeed, Councillor Mackenzie.
Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you. Well, this is obviously our standard annual report. So you're being asked to consider and agree the Common Good Fund Statement of Accounts and the Q4 Monitoring Report, and that's for 22-23. And then the report moves on asking you to scrutinise and note the Q3 monitoring statement going up to December 23. And then we're looking at the proposed budget for the next financial year. In terms of bits to perhaps highlight, in terms of the 22-23 accounts, you'll see there that there is a small surplus on the fund of £20,640, which brings the balance up a little bit on the account. And in terms of that year, we got all the interest and investment and the income. Sorry, my words don't come out today. We got all the rental income that was expected, and some increased income from interest. And in terms of expenditure, that included awards of of 6,500 plus, but that actually included that 3,000 that was put towards furnishing the community hub, and that of course wasn't used in the grant. It's been paid back in the current financial year, so you'll see that as a credit. So overall the reserves increased to 300,465. And you'll also note that the common good contribution towards the town hall refurbishment was carried forward and completed in the current financial year, as you'll be familiar with, I'm sure. So moving on to the current year and the financial statements up to the end of December, the rental income is higher than we were anticipating, and that's due to the rent rise for the Dingwall Caravan Park, and that it's a slightly unexpected sum, but that's because there's £417 that was actually carried forward from last year into this year for that rental increase. And in terms of spend, that is currently showing lower than we would expect, but there is still £10,000 that's set aside to contribute to the cost of the access works at Jubilee Park, and that's not been drawn down yet. But I spoke to Ian Moncrief, and that will come down, be drawn down before the end of the financial year. So that was all I was going to raise on that. But with their overall spend being fairly low, we're still looking at the deficit in the fund, but that of course relates to the refurbishment of the town hall, which is obviously a very positive thing. And so the usable reserves are reduced, but that, as I say, is because of that significant refurbishment for the town hall. And in terms of the budget for next year, the income is out because of the increased caravan park income, and I'm suggesting that next year we reduce the property budget because, you know, there's been fencing carried out, there's been work on the access road, and the town hall is refurbished. So it seems reasonable that a reduced property budget of 12k, which should be certainly adequate, unless there's something really unexpected. And I am suggesting that we maintain the same relatively small community grant stream and also the special project grants. Happy to answer any questions, members.
There
was a lot in the report, Helen, but I think you covered some of it. I was worried that perhaps some of our expenditure hadn't come off this financial year yet, but you said it's going to be picked up. And could at 3.5, can you explain the non-essential spends? What would be covered by that? If it's there. Spending's also been managed by limited non-essential spends.
Oh, things like the community grants. You know, there's obviously if we have property repairs required, then planned or not planned, if it's, you know, if we've got to keep our assets in good order. Whereas obviously the grants are optional, but they're set at a modest level because. I mean, I think that the kind of physical assets of the fund should be in a good place now, but there's always room for surprises around the corner. And overall, given the property that the common good holds, the reserves aren't enormous in compared to that, I think.
Okay, and the other was in staff costs for managing. They seem to have increased, unless I'm reading that.
Again, I mean, I would have to look at the actual detailed staff cost, but certainly if Sarah Murdoch does any work, there's a little bit more of a cost. But in this case, obviously, we had the involvement of the lady from property, whose name I cannot remember, so that there may have been a small charge for that. Obviously, the likes of the myself or whoever's doing it at the time, there's no charge for ours because it's part of our daily work, but some of those services obviously do make a charge. If you want to know more, I can go back into the DTRs and perhaps follow it up.
No, I just wondered why it seemed to have more than doubled by looking at it. And the deficit, you said at 5.3 of the 33,000, that's for the work that we've done.
Yeah.
That's come out of that. No, thank you. I think that's me. Yeah.
Okay, Helen, I think that's us. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much. Nice to see you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, agenda item 8, Dingwall Associated School Group Attainment Overview. Annika, nice to see you. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Nice to see you all.
I'll just pass over to you. You can take us through this report.
Thank you very much. Well, good afternoon, members. This report provides an update of key information in relation to the schools within the Dingwall Academy Associate School Group, or ASG as we call it. And it provides an overview of attainment, attendance and positive destination data with links to further information. As you can see, there's quite a few links in it. Please note that the information shared within the report is for session 22-23 unless otherwise stated. Just to get a little bit of context of the numbers we're talking about within the ESG, the primary schools in this area serve 1,177 pupils. The ELC settings serve 191 children, with 164 children in local authority settings and 89 children in partner settings. And Dingwall Academy serve 1,063 young pupils, and that's per the census in September 23. Please note you're asked to scrutinise and note the content of the report. And as you can see from the report, there's a lot of information within it. And I'm going to ask that any specific questions around individual schools and their data, maybe we can then discuss it in an area business meeting in the future, where I can also invite the relevant head teachers to respond to your questions. Within the report, you can see how the schools have rated themselves on their standards and quality reports in June 23. And you also note from this report that 2 schools have been inspected by HMI within the last 5 years. The overview of the ESGs for the primary schools and secondary schools, you can see within the report, they show a bit of a lower overall attendance compared to national Highland average. We can then also note the attainment overview for primary shows that some schools within the ESG, they perform higher than the national Highland average, but also some perform below. And please also note the data of some of the schools have not been shared due to confidentiality of individuals, as they could probably be identified. School leaver data achieving literacy in level 4 is slightly below national average and Highland. A number of school leavers achieving literacy level 5 was higher in 2022 compared to the virtual comparator. School leavers achieving in numeracy and level 4 and level 5 were below in 2022 compared to the virtual comparator. And in senior phase, the average tariff score was also slightly below the virtual comparator. For pupil destinations 16 plus, Dingwall Academy have a higher average of positive destinations than the Highland average, but slightly under national average. And as a final thing, you can also see in the appendix, just to see the projected rules, the school rules for your information going forward, because I think that's probably quite interesting to see too. But a lot of data has said, welcome comments, and I'm happy to bring head teachers to future area business meeting. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, members.
Well, you must be wanting to say something.
I've seen all of this and discussed all of it. We've actually had both Karen Cormack and Sarah McCaskill to board business meetings in the recent past, well, certainly this session. And I think we've covered these topics fairly extensively, but I'm happy to take any questions that anyone else might have. Maybe I can just kick off just in the exclusions. I was pretty surprised at the number on the exclusion side, Annika.
Yeah. Yeah, and absolutely. And again, with all the data, there is also a story. So when you have exclusion high, you can remember sometimes it could be around 1 or 2 pupils, or it could have been a bigger event when a head teacher have to exclude several pupils. And I'm not going to go into this right now because it's more of a public forum in case we can identify pupils again. But as you understand, there's a story behind that. But obviously we noted that too. So we have those discussions with the head teachers.
And that could be the same person being excluded multiple times, could it?
It can be, or it could be, as you know, it could be a bigger event where a lot of pupils were involved, where the head teacher maybe have to take a decision to exclude several young pupils around something. But as I said, obviously there's a story behind that, but we're picking up that with the head teachers too when we noticed this.
Okay. I'll just one more question then I'll give up. 4.2 standards and quality reports. Did you say these were self-assessed?
Yes, they are self-assessed of the head teachers, but our collaborative leads, they will recommend what they feel as well in a discussion. And obviously it's very important that you as a head teacher gauges very correctly where you are, as you know as well, when HMI comes in, because obviously that's seen as a strength of the leadership that you're judging it correctly. This is something where our collaborative leads are working very closely with our head teacher around the moderation and the wider context as well around attainment.
Okay, and we're still working, things have moved on since I was there, but we're still working on a 6-point scale for this.
Still 6-point scale, yeah.
So can I assume then that we would be targeting those areas which are satisfactory with an attempt to move in that on up?
Yeah. As I said, we obviously, you know, as well, we're working against the Higgius 4, and within that theme, so we work very closely with the head teachers around what the moderation sitting around those themes within. I don't want to become too technical, but we have our framework that we work to, but we work very closely with the head teachers around it just so they get it right on that too.
Yeah, okay, and I promise the final question. Is there any peer assessment built into this?
Pardon, what was that?
Out with the collaborative lead, is there any peer assessment built into the
we're bringing in collaborative leads, but also we were trying to work as an ESG around with the peer assessment around the themes, but also we've also brought in sessions with head teachers leading on good practice in certain aspects of Higgius 4, where head teachers are welcome in as well as a part of a moderation as well, what actually the themes stand for.
Okay, Annika, thanks for your time. Members, any final questions?
No, I was interested in the levers and their destination, and some are not, they kind of drop off the radar altogether, and how do they get picked up? You know, not everyone's going to university or into employment or apprenticeship, but I suppose skills development Scotland do some of that work.
Yeah, and I have to say we are much tighter on that. Just what you said there, picking up the ones that kind of maybe falling off the radar. And in my patch, where I'm normally in the north, it's like a team effort. We're actually linking in with other services across the council as well, just to really see what happens to the young person, especially via social work and a lot of the cases as well. Sometimes it can be difficult to find the person, especially if they moved out of the area, exactly what happened to them. But we do every effort to make sure we do follow up what's happening with that person. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Annika. Take care.
Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Okay, sorry if there was a bit much acronyms and jargon in there.
I thought you would enjoy that.
Hi Fiona, thanks for coming along. Guys, over to you.
Thanks members. So today the committee are invited to agree the level of rent increase for Dingwall and Seaforth garages and garage sites for the year 2024-2025. So if we go over to the report, section 5, that demonstrates the current income relating to our garages and garage sites. The income there is based on full occupancy. 5.3 shows the amount of garages that we have that are occupied and void. That was at the time of writing the report, so that the voids will have decreased since then. The team have been very proactive in getting those allocated and occupied. So recently the tenant consultation on the general rent increase for council house rents for 24-25 was based upon the options of 6.5, 7.3 and 7.95% rent increases, and that's what we've based the garage proposals on as well. For your information, Wester Ross and Strathpeffer agreed 7.95 increase, Nairn agreed a 20% increase, and Sutherland a 10% increase. So there is a bit of variation across Highland. For each of the options there, the weekly increase is less than £1 per week. So I would ask if the members have any questions or if they have.
No, I think we should go by the most amount, 7.95, because they need work.
Yeah.
Some of them need a lot of work done to them.
Just curiosity, what is the garage site that's listed? Ringing us at a healthy £91 a week.
There were some that are being removed from the system, so there was one remaining there. So that was still on the system at the time of the report being
Don't
generated.
want to lose that, do we?
Can I ask a different question? Because I know in some areas that it's on the system that the garages are there, but actually if you go and look, they're not. Is that where you're picking up some of these?
There are some that have been removed because of the condition. So they have been demolished or removed, or in some areas they've been made way for parking.
Sean, the proposal in the room is that we raise by £7.95.
7.95%.
7.95%, beg your pardon. Is that
Yeah, I was listening. Yeah, yeah, I'm happy with that. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
Thank you all very much for your time.
thank you.
How we getting there?
And the last thing we have to do, members, is note the minutes of the meeting of the area committee on the 6th of November.
Noted.
Noted.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks very much. Everyone, come along. Thanks to the officers for being here. And, I think we're now going into our business meeting, are we?